up, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Call Us Skeptical, where we are opening the internet phone lines to ask the question, why does God play hide and seek? And they're so good at it, too. So won't you join James W. and myself, Amy Newman, for a good time? Worth, I didn't change it from lifting bra. Because the last episode was like, why is he so weak? Can't he lift? For a good time. Worth being the hide and seek champion of the universe. What is up, y'all? And that's right. Welcome to tonight's episode of Call Us Skeptical, where we are asking, why does God play hide and seek? If you are out there on the intertubes...
Because he's not very good at playing peekaboo.
Yes, exactly. Or tag, let me tell you. Like, if this God could just physically, give us the touch, it'd be a little bit easier. But hey, I want to thank everyone out there for joining us on the inner tubes. If you're feeling fancy, please don't forget, or just regular, if you're wearing sweatpants, as I do half the time, also like, follow, or subscribe. Woo! Because I have Ewas in my head, too, because I'm watching The Mandalorian. Then hit that bell icon to all so you can get reminders to see our premieres or join our live streams. Like, what is up? Oh, I'm going to say hi, but I'm going to call. Now that I got that out of the way, what is up? What is up, Pat? What is up, Davegar and Bitch Thinker and KCA and Aqueducts and Sinister Porpoise and Gothbosh and Dogsy Day, the answer to erectile.
Good to see everybody out there.
What is up, everyone? And purple rhymes with orange. And if you keep on saying hi to us, we'll davegar. And keep on saying hi to us, we'll keep on saying hi to you. What's up, Maya? But we are a skeptic channel, including the two schmucks you see hosting before you. God never shows up. A cat shows up.
Hey, Dale.
Hi, Dale.
Who's that?
It is Moonlight. He's getting a snack.
Moonlight coming
in a second before he leaves. I'll hold him up. I don't want to show my babies. As I sit on the toy. That's okay. We're skeptics and schmucks. That's right. However, if we're specifically looking for views that don't fit our own. So if you fit the bill, then the link to join the show will soon head into chat or on screen. We also love people who do agree with us. So atheists, skeptics, and science-minded people. Though if you think the world is 6,000 years old, that evolution is a hoax. Or that the world is flat. Oh, then, gee willigers, we have a show for you. Come speak to us right away. I can't help it. Just might send it into, Discords and all over there, or even the ones that might disagree with us. They don't disagree with us. They love us. There we go. Boop. 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 People love the clicking and clacking. It's ASMR. There was a One Piece they did an ASMR.
They're
I don't
on
even
your Sunday
know.
show.
What's that? But I'll check out the One Piece
Dale
live
likes your
action.
Sunday show.
Likes the Sunday show. Woo-hoo. I have been
Yeah.
thinking that StreamYard allows us to do multi-streams, and so I may stream tomorrow, but it's going to be the exact same thing, just with T-Jump and X. And if it
Okay.
is the one tomorrow, let me see if it is. Speaking of the clicky clacky, let me see if Randolph is it that time of the month. Richard, you should all be checking out youtube.com/Randolph Richardson. I don't see a stream up, which means it's going to be T-Jump X and all the lovely people that come join us tomorrow. So come join us tomorrow. Boom, boom, boom. Trying to think what else. What is up, Carthalia and Fenton and Big Bam Mama and HJ Evan and so many lovely people out there. And we're about to open it up. We always promise this is supposed to be the quicker shout outs, so I'm not really sure what that
There
means
he is.
anymore.
Here
Do
he is.
have to show Moonlight. He's my baby. Yes.
Moonlight.
Oh, I have many babies. Okay, he's like, okay. I
Big
had
black
none
cat.
on. He is. Hi.
Amy
Yeah.
likes big black cats.
Listen, anything that starts with big black. What were we talking about? Listen, speaking of shout outs and things that we all daydream about, probably with both of us, Rachel Holen reminding us
Rachel.
that I kind of jumped. I was also supposed to.
Moonlight seems
I
to
jumped
really,
right to Patreons, but I'm like, oh yeah, you can get channel membership. There's multiple ways to support us. You can get channel membership by getting our evolving badge system. You can, and it triggers creationists because anything that evolves. I honestly do not understand why evolution just has to trigger them to their core. Like, if you have an answer for the diversity of life, present it. All of the scientists, the biologists, would love to know. However,
well, Amy, I've got better than that for you. The guy who did it, he wrote it all down in a book. He told you exactly how he did it.
Oh, that's true. It does say somewhere in a book what fell. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he wrote it down. It's simple. It's easy. I don't know why you atheists make everything so hard.
You overthink this whole God thing, this whole miracle thing. Well, Ket's not really doing anything anymore. He is
Stop trying
down.
to understand God and just start worshiping and praising Him. Don't try to understand it.
Exactly. Don't use this.
He doesn't want you to understand Him. He wants you to worship Him.
Forever and ever. But he like a specific presuppositionalist. They seem to have disappeared. So, that's what happens when you buy users and then you have to get them via the interesting topic of this book. It just has so many things that are trending with the youth. Thumbs. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, because his mercy endureth forever, except when he's burning you in hell. The end. Anyway, evolving badge system.
You choose to go to hell. God doesn't send you. You choose
that
to go to hell.
is such bullshit.
There.
Yeah. Choices when we make a choice, it is not like we are having a conscious decision. What is up? It is just the act of being convinced is what a belief is. $2 super chat. I hear Ken Hoven is on a 30 to 180 day vacation. Hey, you would never know if he was on vacation because he'd be wearing a Hawaiian t-shirt. Do you think when he goes on vacation, he dresses like in black?
What is that?
Kent, maybe.
What did he act? Did he have his new trial, his domestic violence trial, and he got sentenced to jail again? Is that what?
No, I just think that probably, but I also just think that he is out of commission because he had this channel, and then once you get sucker punched in a specific way, it's just a lot harder to climb back up. That's why he does, debates on. Not that we don't love doing debates on these specific channels, but, we're from the gutter, so it is nice just to have them join us in the gutter. Us and Oscar the Grouse, James. We're doing... I hear orange is the new black on this vacation. I'm telling you, because he can't really be having a SpongeBob adventure on vacation. That's what he did for a living. And now it just seems that just like a different type of presuppositionalist who got kicked to, the other side of who the hell knows. He basically got banned from most Discord channels, and he spends his time on Clubhouse now. Now, once again, I'm not hating on Clubhouse. That's where the hip new people are. But it's just like you would think that this very specific 50, 60, however old Gary is, that half of his insults are like, you act like a 14-year-old. I need to do a Northeastern voice, which is my voice already. How can I go more Northeastern? But he somehow is more Northeastern. He's like from a Maine. It sounds like from a Maine or something. You talk like
sounds like he's from fucking Connecticut or Vermont.
Or his mom's room. His mom's basement. No. One of them.
In South Central Rhode Island.
However, I will say there is one or two amazing people who come from up there because I'm a big Stephen King fan. So sending love to Stephen King. And sending love to Sinister Porpoise. And everybody out there, look at the trees. And there's just love, random love out there. Okay. Speaking of our Patreon, just sending love. We have the best way to support us. One of the best ways. There's all these sending love to everyone who sends us support. But you can do super chats. You can do channel membership. And here is the Patreon at patreon.com/AB Newman. It sounds as much of me shilling as shilling can get. But there it is. And sending so much love out to, like I was saying, Rachel Holen. But wait, there's more. At the girl deck level, at 15 feet, by the way.
For only 15 easy payments of $79.95 plus tax.
Yes. All of it specifically also has to be done like this. So it has to rain down. It's the only way because it makes me feel like a naughty girl.
37,000 slides, all 37,000 of them on a thumb drive for $50.
Yo, I could give
a whole Kenobi
that gentleman a PowerPoint. He was giving a PowerPoint class, but he was like, it's the only thing. What is that thing say? The Lord. I was about to say the Lord of Butt. That counts. I can't tell if that's better than the Lord of Ass. Either way, what is up, Beamsy? What was I speaking about? I'm sorry. I'm both a tit and a butt person, so that's kind of gonna Kent Hovind. Oh, he did a class randomly because I lurk randomly on whatever the algorithm sends me. And it was on how to make a PowerPoint. Not a good PowerPoint, how to make a PowerPoint. Which, honestly,
like he's showing
I'll
people
take
how
it.
to do it.
Yes, as in
Ken
like
Hovind is showing people
is
how to use technology.
how you make the text box. This is how you can put an image in the PowerPoint. Now listen.
Was this new or is this like from the
Oh,
90s?
this is within like the past 6 months because now he's, like I said,
Oh, wow.
he has been regulated to the backside of the internet, and I am here to celebrate it. It's the only time I've ever seen him give valid information, except if we ever were to be on a round Earth debate. But yes, so it's out there. But that's why he does 70,000 slides. I just wish I could get him to do how to do a good PowerPoint presentation, because
But he's
just
not trying to do
appreciate
good.
white space. You don't need to fill up the entire page. In fact, please,
That's
for the
kind of
love
what
of
he's
your
doing.
Jesus, don't fill up the entire.
No,
Yes,
that's part of his whole goal. It's to just overwhelm you, to just throw as much shit at you as possible to try to just completely overload. Yeah, that's intentional, I'm sure.
It's
He's
an
just going to
intentional
spam
gish
so
gallop
much
page.
bullshit at you. He is not going to leave one area of that PowerPoint clear where there's not bullshit being thrown at you that you probably won't have time to respond to, because nobody can spam lies faster. What was it? I think Aaron Ross made the famous thing. He can tell more lies in a sentence than there are words in that sentence.
Well, there's not, most people are disciples of, especially in these religious folks, of whoever came before them. Gish, I forget whatever his first name was, but he actually has taken pointers from Dwayne Gish, like in a non-joking, non-ironic way.
No,
like
he says, yeah, the
Shroud of Turin.
he debated 400 atheists, beat him every single time. Yeah.
Well, that's his other thing. That's why his new thing, once again, new thing is this is what he has to do now. But he takes on like as many atheists as he can at once, which is
part of his shtick.
As part of his shtick.
He did that thing where they had. It was one of his first debates, and they had 3 college professors he was debating against. This is like in the early 90s, and he wears like a badge of honor, like, I debated 3 atheist college professors at once. Me versus all 3 of them, I beat them.
But what that really just ends up doing is it means that he gets more time, and then the professionals, the people with expertise, the academics, just have to split up their time. And so that's just part of the shtick. But that's why I enjoyed us having our 2-on-1 debate, because it was like, okay, we're just gonna have our normal show. I hate to tell you, Kent, but this is our shtick. So okay, and it was a good debate.
Come to us, Kent. Come have a seat. Ride the girl.
And I'll try and provide that link, because yes, it's like when a young Earth creationist has to defend the round Earth. Like every once in a while, they actually have to give valid, sound information. So there it is. Like I said, we're never.
Which is why. Which it's not that they're absolutely incapable of logical thinking or being able to rationally.
No, it's complicated.
Right. They can do
grifters.
it.
They can be very smart.
It's just when it comes to this fucking religion thing that everything goes haywire.
Yeah. And speaking of which, this God seems to not show up for anyone except them when they're in church or in synagogue or in a mosque. Sending so much love to Rachel Holen and James Wolfe as the Yellow Moon And sending so much love, boom, 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 Holen. Sending so much love, Dale Pastel. We saw him in chat. Sending so much love. We're looking for empirical evidence. I really don't get what's so hard about having something testable. Like, this tends to be one of the creationist sticking points. Is like all you want is you just want science. Can't you get anything but science? Can't you get anything but the most verifiable method that we've ever had in history? So far, at least. No. I mean, I guess we can talk about arguments and other stuff, but it feels like the Wish version of what you're trying to sell us. Then again, they don't give us good arguments. We get Kalam. We don't get Kalam anymore. We get Pascal's wager. We don't get Pascal's wager anymore. We get the contingency argument. That's right. We get the contingency argument. I don't know why anymore. It's a bad argument.
But what do they have anything better? No.
No.
So I mean, it's just all they have to run with.
James, how do we even know that we're here? What is necessary? What is being? Are you being? I'm starting to be a being, and it may be. Okay, calm down. Sit down. Eat
Chris
a nice pop or something.
The contingency argument.
What is the contingency argument? The contingency argument is that everything has a necessary being. Something that it is contingent, and thus, like James says, has a cause for. And so, because everything was caused by something else, there has to be some necessary contingent cause at the top.
Uncaused
and that is
causer.
Gauze, the uncaused causer. I didn't put it in syllogistic form, but that is, I feel almost necessary now. Yeah, the contingency.
And it might be true. It might be true to say that eventually there has to be something uncaused. But why would we think whatever that is would be a guy, a dude, somebody with agency and will and thoughts and consciousness?
And I have, in my opinion, a counter contingency argument. So here's a 5-step one. Every contingent fact has an explanation. There is a contingent fact that includes all other contingent facts. Therefore, there is an explanation of this fact. This explanation must involve a necessary being. This necessary being is God, which it doesn't even include. I love how it just jumps to it, like it just asserts it at the very end. And I also don't agree. Every contingent fact has an explanation. We don't have an explanation for every contingent fact. It may be true. We just don't know. And so to assert it, you can't use it as a premise if we don't know. And there is a contingent fact that includes all other contingent facts, which is, once again, this weird nesting that maybe, but I don't think so far. And therefore, there's an explanation of this fact. And so, yeah, I
try another attempt to use philosophy to force God into existence, like he's got to exist because philosophy says he does.
Well, if we can't agree with the first two premises, we don't really have a lot to go. It's just like the Kalam is starting with everything that begins to exist. I think that both of these cosmological arguments have shady language, and that is to say loose language, and they are constructed within a way in which they are trying to feed the conclusion in. It doesn't lead necessary from
like
facts.
Begging the question.
They're trying to, yes. And it's the hot new thing.
It's not
because. Oh, what were we gonna say?
it's not as if they were just trying to ponder the the meaning of reality, the true nature of being, existence, the true nature of reality. It's not like they're trying to understand that. They're just trying to find a way that justifies their belief in God. So I mean,
and
they're
I
beginning
also
with their
find,
premise, and they're trying to come up with some sort of rational way that makes it sound logical. But
and the vast majority of the practitioners of this either come from a version of Islam or a version of presuppositional Christianity. Those tend to be the two biggest practitioners of it, and I don't know what tends to make them assholes. Like, they browbeat people if you do not go through their chain, and they do not accept "I don't know" as an explanation when "I don't know" is the proper explanation for 1 and 2, because we don't know, and to use them as facts is dishonest. Not to mention, I always love how they don't include God in any of the premises, but then they just include it in the conclusion. Like, this necessary being is God. Oh, wow. How bold of you. What a jump. But God, is it in 1, 2, 3, or 4? So how is it in 5? But whatever. This is what they
as
do.
you've said before, I mean, they kind of act like lawyers a little bit. And, when a lawyer's got somebody on that they're questioning and they're not cooperating, the lawyer's going to try and browbeat them. He's going to try to agitate them. He's going to try to get their answers to be what he wants them to be.
One more thing to bounce off that lawyer point: they do not allow others to ask questions, and this is where the
lawyers
just give me one more.
You don't
just
ask
give
them
me
questions.
one more. Yes, and so maybe we'll have some
tonight. The book of questions here in private, like drill sergeants.
We will throw the book at you, and it's a heavy one. Lots of murder, and I'm sure there's like a good sense in there too. Love your neighbor. Kill the guy for picking up sticks. Rich people can't get into heaven. Drown all of the infants. Selective. All right. Anyway, it's a choose your own adventure, James.
How about that verse where it says if you find a dead body like in between the cities and you don't know what happened, you don't know who killed the guy, that you're supposed to decapitate a cow?
That makes total sense.
The creator of the universe says, "Oh, we found a dead guy out here. What do we do? Oh, I know. We'll cut the head off of a cow. That'll solve everything." Okay, makes sense to me.
Can we just point out how many specific laws there are in the Bible for goats? Trading goats, what to do, killing goats, goat blood. Lots of rules about
for goats.
Anyway, sending so much love to Dale Pastel. Chris Disciple, sending so much love to Chris Disciple. He has given us so much love. We're giving him so much love out there. We have many theists. We have many Christian, Muslim, as long as you are skeptical about your belief system. That's really the
Amy,
whole thing of being skeptical.
Did you know that the male goat's penis is by proportion? It's not. It's about the same size as a human male to size
I don't know
ratio,
what
but
it is.
It's a little on the smaller side.
But
they tend to be girthier.
Penises?
They tend to be girthier, and I have these slides. If you wanna see, I can point that out to you.
As you can see here, the whale's penis is 15 feet. You got him to say that during a debate.
I did.
It's impressive. But sending love so much to Chris Disciple. And sending so much love to Ian Davenport, reminding us that they're all there. I don't know. If there were be good apologetic arguments, I guess we would either tell you or be theist or whatever, but they're all either hundreds or thousands of years old, and they all suck. Not like Ian Davenport. He's amazing.
Thanks, Ian.
And last but certainly not least, sending love to Regos. Boom, 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 boom. As we remind us, we do a skeptic Bible study. We're neck deep into Joshua. Most of the prophets don't make it to the promised land. Actually, I just want to... Her pasta in this Barbaretta, reminding us that, God either does exposition or murder people. So enjoy the exposition, because the other part's murder.
The promised land. Amy, is there any one piece of the Middle Eastern desert that is particularly nicer than the others, or is it all pretty much a desert wasteland?
The fact that they fight over whatever's going on over there is, I don't know what to call it. It's not irony. It's not a coincidence. Let's just call it sad. But yes, desert land now for sale and a holy war.
Don't get me wrong. If that's where you're from, that's fine. There are people from all corners of the earth, but it doesn't really seem like it's something to fight over,
I enjoyed living in Arizona. I'm sure I would love, Israel, Palestine, whatever I'm sure I'd love being in Saudi Arabia if they decided not to my head off. That's not the point, though. It just seems a little bit odd. It isn't like they're not fighting over the Nile.
They'll just hang you. I don't think they'll cut your head off anymore. So they've liberalized a little bit.
I know. Honestly, though, they're gonna liberalize. Okay, I don't know if it's gonna be my lifetime, but that is what happens in history, and you can see it when the rich people do it. Okay, if you have the white garb, the red hat, and you're driving a Lamborghini, oh baby girl, baby boy, you are on team secularism. We got you by the balls. It's just a matter of time that the people down below are like, hey, we want that too. So,
you don't think there's LGBT people in Iran and Saudi Arabia?
Oh, I know.
No, it's going to get to a point where they're just not going to be able to kill them all because
we will always
the internet, social media, they're able to communicate with other people, and so hey, I'm not the only one.
Even in the Middle East, there are gay bars. Yes, and it'll only continue to grow. And I've seen,
if you think you're the only one, maybe you better stay in the closet, not tell anybody. But when you find out, oh hey, there's gay, just like there is in every part of the world, every country, all over throughout time. And, they're not the only one over there.
Sending love to Freak. I lived there for 2 years. Few years. Lovely, though. I should go out there. I lived out there, and I didn't visit Vegas. That's another thing. I'm going to cough again. I'm sorry. In fact, speaking of coughing, I am going to sending love to all of our super chatters, all of our channel members, and all of our Patreons. I'm going to be right back a second, but as I'm going to send the link into stream. So as we get people, let's queue up. Come join Call Us Skeptical, and we give priority to whoever disagrees with us. If you are normally someone that we think agrees with us but disagrees with us, also tell us, and that will give you a little bit priority. But if you are a theist, if you are a Christian, Muslim, or just other things, listen, if you think that vaccines are a massive conspiracy to turn you into a lizard, please call in.
Please, yeah.
Okay, but I'll be right back. But
Go.
look at that right there.
We'll be here when you get back.
Boom. I'm just also going to send love to kitties, just randomly. Who knows why? Sending so much love. Though this podcast is entirely sponsored by cats and dogs. And if you have a lizard out there, or whatever is your baby, sending so much love. But I'll be right back. And now it's pinned, and now it's on the screen. Come call us. Why does God play hide and seek?
Good to see everybody out there. Good to be back. Amy's going to be doing the show tomorrow with T-Jump, but she's going to stream it on this channel. So if you want to watch it here, feel free to do that. And then we'll probably be back at some point next week. Hey, Sumami, good to see you out there. Things get a little tight with the scheduling the past couple weeks. Hopefully she'll have some little bit more time to be able to stream a little bit more. I mean, there's serious questions with the ethics of anything. That's true, but no evidence vaccines are conspiracy or that they're designed to hurt people or anything crazy like that. We're definitely much better off with them than without them. Well, there you go. Capital, there are no ethics of it. Like, and this is what I've tried to tell people before. Like, corporate America, capitalism has made Americans cucks. We are like you feel guilty. You are expected to, if you're going to leave you're expected to give your boss 2 weeks notice before you leave. When your boss wants to fire you, does he give you 2 weeks notice? No. You just go into work one day. He says, yeah, we don't need you anymore. Bye. He doesn't give a shit. They don't care. This is like these companies act ruthlessly in their best interests. They only do what's in it for them. But they make you feel guilty if you look out for your best interest. Like you're putting them in a bind. You're not giving them time. You're not giving them notice. But they actually don't care anything about you. It's just amazing how they've made people subservient and think that you're doing something wrong if you look out for your interests. But meanwhile they do whatever the fuck they want to do. Yeah. Yeah, lots of misinformation, lots of fear going around about this COVID vaccinations. I mean, most people have gotten it, and I don't think that people have had any type of most people had any type of discernible negative impact from it. So I think it's okay. I think it's all right. I remember back when the pandemic was going on, and there was one case. It really stuck out in my mind. You had this guy in his mid-30s, like father of 3, married with a wife and 3 kids, and He's in the hospital. He's in the ICU on a ventilator. They're telling him, like, basically, might not make it. And he's in pain. He's struggling to breathe. He's got the fucking ventilator going. And he's like, I wish I would have just taken that fucking shot. And he died like 2 days later. And yeah, that's the reality of it. These people never actually think something like that's going to happen to them, and all of a sudden it does. And then you didn't take your shot because you heard things on social media or the other things, people saying stuff about it. People probably don't know what they're talking about. Then so you don't get it. Then well, it's too late. I mean, I'm not for forcing anybody. I'm not for forced vaccinations. I don't think it should be compulsory, with force, but I don't think there's any real reason to avoid it.
No. It's compulsory by natural selection. Because, Ben Carson and others just see what happens when, you put yourself up against a virus. And so sometimes our immune systems can kick ass. Sometimes our immune systems need a battle plan. And that is what a vaccine is you are injecting the actual dead virus into your body so that it can fight against it. Also, no creationists, even while we're talking vaccines, no, I guess, anti-vaxxers, which I guess means we're going to have sponsors. Yes.
Is it strange, though, Amy, that probably not 100%, but probably 90% of the anti-vax comes out of theist people who are most likely Christian or Muslim practitioners? I wonder why. Why is that? Why do you think
that is not surprising? Because I think it comes from a mindset. I think if you have a mindset, well, either A, you accept something already on something like faith, which if you accept one thing on faith, why can't you accept really anything? Or the conspiracy theory mindset, which, once again, they only accept really their own personal experience and not experts. Also, what's up, Tinkle Tink, Sumami, P-Town?
I mean, here's the thing, though. Like, COVID's, it's killing thousands and thousands of people daily. And what do we do? Take 10 years to test it before we put a vaccine out? I mean, sometimes you just got to expedite things a little bit. We don't have the luxury of being able to put something in clinical trials for 10 years just to see what the long-term effects are.
That's how science works. That's not how the main COVID
Things
vaccine...
don't always happen under ideal circumstances. Things happen in reality.
But P-Town, that is what the vaccine is. I've never found someone against the vaccines who has been able to accurately tell me that explanation back.
Well,
every time I ask them, there's silence.
I think that the COVID, they took some of the proteins from it, and that's what they used to make the vaccine. But, I mean, it's a slightly different process than the others, but it's essentially the same thing.
Sure. And there's probably other stuff they put in there, but that is what a vaccine is. That's how your body makes a blueprint. It may not have 100% success rate of killing it. That's what we found with what we call COVID, which was a superbug. And that is why we are fearful of superbugs, because when you have such a resistance, what it does is it creates a type of virus that fights against, or at least starts against, its own blueprint against everything we've thrown against it. So you have to come up with new stuff. You have to evolve.
Yeah,
Right.
Sumama, that's just, well, it's like they have a mindset. They're always trying to like blame people for, but they're always trying to make it like somebody's fault. Like, oh well, he had diabetes, so therefore, I mean, of course he's gonna die. Or this person had this condition or that condition, high blood pressure, hypertension. So therefore, it's like when they're talking cancer, they're like, oh well, I mean, you really only get cancer if you do, X, Y, or Z. That's really, they basically try to make it sound like if you just eat right and exercise, you won't get cancer, which is not true. People perfectly otherwise healthy get cancer all the time. But you see, they want to make it like it's somebody's, like it's everything is that person's fault because, well, that absolves their God in a way. Because hey, it's not God's doing; it's they lived an unhealthy life, so therefore they got cancer. It's their fault. Don't blame God.
Indeed. My brother actually got cancer, possibly from his gun. His what the hell is the gun? There's like a specific radar gun. Yeah.
No, yeah, I've heard about that before. Just being exposed to all that radiation for a long time. Okay,
yeah. And he had it when he was around my age, which is even crazier. But we have fantastic medical science. And now he gets to retire and not be a cop anymore. Woo! I'm going to keep on sending it out there. Why does God play hide and seek? And I should start it this time so I don't have to keep on sending it out. But it's pinned. And so anyone who truly wanted it, they could find it. Right there.
Hit the tail on the Newman.
Less Theus. So when we go into Discord, I guess it's just these specific Discords. But these specific Discords are, they lean more right wing. There are liberals on there and lefts, peace socialists and communists on there. And there are atheists on there. I think atheists are slowly gonna dominate. This is their last bastion. Do.
I mean, they're not 100% effective, but being 95% protected is definitely better than being 0% protected. The tricky thing with these viruses, they evolve, they mutate, and so you can't just have one vaccine. It's going to be 100% effective forever because the virus mutates.
No, we will always have, I assume, new viruses because that is how evolution works. If you don't believe in evolution, that's the problem because you probably wonder to yourself, how does this keep on happening?
Well, we got a live one.
Woohoo! We got Chris backstage and sending so much love, Big Bad Mama. He is actually doing much better now. I'll tell you the same joke that he says, though, because he has to take testosterone. And he says, God damn, my sister has one more ball than I do. It does happen.
Because they say that the rate they were causing testicular cancer because the cops would let it sit in their lap for, when they would sit in their car, and when they put it down, they would just drop it in their lap right next to their groin.
Yeah. But yes, sending so much love. My brother is doing way better now. Sending so much love to chat for all the love they gave. And we're going to bring in our first caller. We are calling us skeptical on why does God play hide and seek? Woo! What is up, Disciple Day? What's up, Chris?
Welcome aboard.
Trying to get our banner off. But we are calling us skeptical on why does God play hide and seek? Hope you're doing well. And what are your thoughts about anything we've been talking about tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's nice to be here and good to see you guys. And I'm just enjoying being on, enjoying listening and learning. And it's funny because one thing I really enjoy about you guys is if I just kind of listen in, you have this main topic, and then you branch off into all these other things. And I just find it, I honestly, I find that wonderful. It's just so free and fun. It makes it fun. I'm not an academic. That's not who I am. I'm just a guy who enjoys life. And so I find that much more fun than trying to stick to something and follow this criteria, that criteria, which can get old quick. But real quick thing
we may have tangented once or twice.
I think I may have seen that one time.
A little bit of a rant here and there.
Yeah. I think real quickly on the vaccines, I find it, I look at it from more the perspective, just me personally on people tend to, and everyone has a different standard or different thing that really gets their goat. But I think people have a real problem with government mandates. And I think that's since vaccines to some level, not just with COVID, but other vaccines are somewhat mandated. And I'm not saying it's not a good thing they're mandated. It's not my point. I'm just saying that tends to get people stressed. And it could be, so I think for certain groups, it may be a medical mandate. Like you need to put this in your body.
Can I interrupt for just 1 second and agree with you? Because I think it depends on the person. And for some people, it's just rah. This is the thing the government said. I'm anti-government. And so I have to take this kind of position. It's like, I guess it depends on the person, but I also agree. I think James said, I think both of us wouldn't want it to be forced on someone. I think it just, in the intellectual battleground, it just should be, if the option is vaccine or no vaccine, this is the science approved. I know they think of it as government approved. I think we think of it more as science approved way of trying to just handle a pandemic. But I'll hand it right back over to you because I know I just had to put that on and agree.
Any medication has a risk of adverse effects, side effects, things that are not necessarily desirable. That's any medication. So the fact that some people have had complications, that's expected, that's known, it's unfortunate, but it's expected that the vast majority of people will do better getting it than if they had not got it. So
yeah. Well, and me personally, I generally speaking trust the government. Obviously I don't want to have blind trust in the government where whatever they say, if the government says it's true and right. But but I'm just saying, I think everyone has kind of a different area where if the government mandated something, they would struggle. And I think too, when it comes to vaccines, the science is out there and it's pretty, it's available to everyone to look and see and make their own decision. And especially as we go further on this thing with COVID, the data becomes more and more clear, and so again, people can make that choice but I just think because I think James, somebody had said maybe that, it tends to be a theist thing, the where you get more up in arms about the vaccines, and that may be the case. I don't know.
Notice most of the opposition comes from religious individuals. What that means, I don't know.
I don't know either. But I could, But again, I don't argue either way. I just think that could be a particular place where they draw the line, and we probably all draw the line at different places.
Can I be the most offensive, but I don't mean it towards you?
I don't mind. Go ahead.
We find that most flat earthers are theists. And we ask ourselves,
that's certainly the case.
Why is that? And many of them. Oh,
go ahead. Well, I think the reason you might get that is because they might view that as one. It could be the way they read the Bible, And they may read the Bible and say, well, it says there's a flat earth and therefore there's a flat earth. That could be. I mean, there are many reasons. And of course, there are exceptions. I'm certain there are people who would say there is no God and the earth is flat. But I would also believe those are far and away the minority, of people. And I think, again,
I keep on waiting for one. James said he has met one. I have yet to meet one. Yes,
I mean, I've seen
sure
a
there is
couple
one
over
out
the
there.
years. Not very many.
yeah, I actually, and I'll say plainly, it was one, but I don't look for them either. But I did meet one
Sure.
who was quite offended because I assumed he was I specifically assumed he was a Christian, but he turned out to not be a theist at all, and he was quite
Can
offended
I
that I
ask?
assumed he
Was it Adam? Was it Adam Lore?
No, I don't know who that is.
Okay.
No, this was
Because
someone I met in
Adam
my personal
Lore
life.
may have been now maybe like a pseudo Christian. And I'm
Okay.
like, come on, buddy. Your whole shtick was like you were into conspiracies and an atheist. You were like our example. And now
Well, that stinks. I'm sorry.
but that's another story. Yes.
So on the
He was an atheist who was skeptical of evolution. Like he wasn't sold on
Oh
evolution.
my god. He wasn't sold on Big Bang. He wasn't sold on many things. Adam, if you're still out there, I've said it love to you. I'm not said it hate, except for those specific beliefs. But everything else about that. I love you. Have coffee. What were you saying?
I was saying about the question about God playing hide and seek. I didn't quite get the question. But assuming it means something like, why is God so hard to find?
That is, in fact, there's a fancy name that is divine hiddenness, which is to say, if God is so everywhere at all times, why is he so hard to find?
Yeah, I think that's, again, for me, and understand quite sincerely, I used to think that exact way, but, then I find it might be playing two sides, like stealing from both sides, because I would have definitely made the argument, just talk about me in my past, so I can't speak for anyone else, that the thinking of God was like kind of pre-enlightened thinking, meaning the only reason you believe in God is because he's the obvious answer. Like he's not a legitimate answer. He's just like, well, we don't know, and so therefore it's God. And like it's kind of like, well, there has to be someone behind all this. And so throughout human history, though, the vast majority, I mean, I don't think this is something really debated, but I don't know. Again, I'm not coming as a scholar. For the vast majority of human history, the vast majority of people have believed in a God. And so kind of being like, well, why is he so hidden? It's like, well, he didn't seem to be really hidden. Like, I mean, it was just, we're talking, when we talk about even today's Abrahamic religions, there are billions and billions of people. So I'm not saying, go ahead.
I just, once again, it's like I agree with you, but then it takes me in a direction in that I agree with you. For the vast majority of our human history, there seems to have been some sort of gods. The monotheists, I think, are a little bit selfish sometimes, because I think the monotheism is actually a newer phenomenon than they give all of the other. They're just like pagan, whatever. Them over there. But even though there have been a lot of religions, I also agree with what your original starting point was I think from the Enlightenment period onward is that there has been a search for physical explanations. And I think from that search, we have gotten a lot. We've gotten modern science. And so you see this with a lot of our deist founding fathers and deists all around the world that also became, the Enlightenment era, that forward we're getting mechanistic explanations.
Yeah, I think it was twofold, because I think it started with a who question, who's doing all this, and then it turned into a what question, how's this all working, how does this work, so a how question, I suppose. So there's like the who, and that would have been the God answer, right? And then there's the how.
The band?
Band?
No. There's actually a band, the Who.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
actually
yes.
There's actually 2 bands named The Who, which is kind of odd, but that's
that
another
really?
story.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Because there's like The Who, and I remember them as like a hippie band, but then there's like some like European Who band, and like they're definitely called The Who. They have one song where even though they could barely speak English, it was just who, 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 but it was rocking and doing that. I was like, okay. Nonetheless, once again, the tangents, they are real. Okay. Who?
Well, I'm glad I got to finally witness one. But so it's just I think as you again, if the idea was, I'm not saying currently, I'm saying before, was kind of like, okay, God's the who, and now we're going to search for the how. Like, how is God doing this? Or what does it look like? And we can say then, I mean, as a skeptic, certainly you could say, well, eventually the how eliminated the need for the who, because I think that's the idea, right? Is like, well, what we discovered in evolution, it's the how, but it goes so far as to eliminate the need for a who behind the how, and that's where we might disagree, right? So we might disagree at that point. But again, I think the overall thing of God is hiding isn't really the case the way I see it anymore. Because again, I probably would have agreed with that off the top, but also would have definitely said the reason all these people believed in God is because he was the simplest explanation, because they didn't know what they were talking about. And therefore, in that sense, he's not hiding, right? Because he's the most obvious answer there is. But I'd also say, because I think somebody brought up at some point something being testable. And so I found one of the things I found interesting about, what I read in the Bible, and again, is through my experience, is the Bible does seem to make, at least in my reading of it, again, I can only talk, I'm not an intellectual nor a scholar of any kind, so this is just in my interpretation. It says, if you seek me, you will find me if you seek me with all your heart. So that, to me, to some degree, right, sounds like something testable. It's like the idea, seek him, you will find him. If you seek him pure-heartedly, let's say, like you're earnestly, right? There's a song, right? Earnestly.
You build it, they will come.
Well, kind of like if, again, and I admit, what's funny is I certainly, as a skeptic, admit the contradiction there, right? Because there's kind of a hidden thing there. It's like, if you seek me, you will find me if you seek me with your whole heart. So then if you don't find him, I can say, well, you didn't seek him with your whole heart, right?
Can I push back on that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Which is that I think when you mean seek with heart, are you saying seek with heart, not with brain?
No.
Because what I wish that, in fact, this is part of the episode, is that we're saying if we all truly are looking for God, we're only in, I would say, either multiple gods, or really the better question sometimes is which God.
Mm-hmm,
and then once we have figured that out, if we can just get a bunch of people, can't we all just seek and then like peer review, right? We should be able to all seek honestly in a room or somewhere and then get this God to come down.
Well, I again, that wouldn't be my interpretation of it. I don't think that's really the way anything truly works. But again, just from the point of, is there a testable hypothesis? It's maybe, and again, it was true for me, and that I'm just saying that, I'm not saying it's worth anything other than to me, so I'm not making any statement there, but I think, I think to say that it isn't testable in a sense isn't true. But again, I also understand the problem with it. I really do. Like I said, I'm a skeptic at heart. I think I may have talked about this before, but I call it the blue dot experiment. I used to tell people about this all the time when talking to my Christian friends. I wouldn't call them friends at the time, but so again, as a non-believer, do you guys remember the blue dot? I may have talked about this before because I used to use it all the time. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Know of the pale blue dot.
Okay, this was the magical blue dot. No, this was the, so I don't know. I'm not familiar with that part of Sagan's work, but this was the National Enquirer or Examiner, one of those tabloids. right? So, and in there they had this blue dot. It was literally just a printed blue dot on a page, and this dot, I don't remember if they sold it. You could look it up. I'm sure it's still out there, the history of it. But they said this dot would give you luck, right? Now, someone who encountered the blue dot won the lottery. And so, of course, what did they do? They assumed it was the blue dot, right? Well, my goodness, it's the blue dot. This proves the blue dot works. And so I would, of course, we all would look and go, no, it's not the blue dot. It's that, you know, you got lucky, won the lottery, and because the blue dot happened to be a recent encounter or something, you then said, oh, it's the blue dot.
Sure.
It's like I used to, I've told you before, at casinos, I haven't been to many, but I'd go and I wasn't much of a gambler, but what I'd like to do is place my hand on someone's slot machine and say, I'm really lucky and you're going to win big. Because then if they won big, guess who they thought was to give a tip to? Me. So it's a good way to make money. It's like if they lost, I was out nothing, right? The person who lost doesn't go tell people that guy touched my machine, I lost. That's just what's expected. But the person I touched the machine and they won, suddenly I had some credibility. So again, I was really a skeptic. And but I think there's some degree to where, again, we look throughout history and we say that it seems that the idea of God, right? Because we can get into the monotheistic God or Abrahamic God or different gods. The idea of God,
yes, we can.
Seems to be something that's almost, and I'm not saying it is, but is almost self-evident in a sense that it's something you think through, meaning, there could be a who behind all this. And I think one difference is, as you guys were kind of talking about what is, and I never use the term, it's just that you guys kind of brought up the uncaused first cause or that kind of concept. It's like whatever, what is the final thing we get to, right? Like
it's the final countdown.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, the final countdown. What does it all boil down to? And it's like, I think in the simplest way of putting it in my mind is when we get to the final countdown, we're not left with a what, but a who. It's a totally different, because and I see it in persons. Like I get that in persons because when I talk about you, Amy, I'm not talking about a what. I'm not simply talking about, that flesh and bones.
Can I agree with you, but then turn it back around? And then I want to bring up a comment from chat too. But, okay, when you're saying whom, I agree. That's who they used to. And are you familiar with the term God of the Gaps?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
I think that's why the whom used to be so prevalent, because we didn't know something. In fact, we go, why was lightning, why does it happen? And so what did we do? We went to a whom. We said, a god is striking down because they are angry. But we later learned about different, when different cycles of hot and air come together to make storms. And so it becomes a what, just like you were saying. And so I think that a whom at the beginning of the universe doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you have something to say, actually, if you go.
Well, I don't know if I have anything of value to say. You let me know. But ultimately, like Amy, your who is really who you are more than your what. In other words, if you were to die and your body still remains, I would rightly say Amy is no longer with us. And no one points you go, no, Amy's right there.
I agree with you. But see, here's the thing. A who, I think, is a complex thing that came way after a bunch of whats. That, like, we didn't get who's until, like, life began to arrive on this, tier 2 planet after it, died and was reborn again because we had to get the heavier elements. And so who's actually took a while. And so that's why it doesn't make sense to put a who at the beginning, because it would be a who and then a bunch of whats and then who's again. It would be like complex, simple, all the way building to complex again.
We have areas we can kind of look and see the opposite, though. I think, like right now with AI, we have a whole bunch of whats. They're just computers, just machines, and I think all of us who, I don't work on AI, but I do work with it extensively. I think all the people who are kind of in that field understand that eventually we might get to who's. And so, and we wouldn't be right in saying, well, the what came
but
first.
Wait,
aren't
you agreeing though with me? Aren't you saying a bunch of whats will eventually lead up to who's, but it wouldn't be backwards?
Well, certainly, I think we're in agreement on the principle, but the problem departs when you get to the AIs eventually being who's. They came from who's, not what's, right? I mean, again, that's the idea, right? Yes, they started as, so even if they, let's say, I'm just using the word, forgive me for using the word, right? Evolved from computers that, Chat GPT, whatever, right? And into robots.
Why would I have to forgive you when things evolve?
Yeah, absolutely. So, but obviously when I talk about these robots, I'm talking about evolved at the hands of human intervention. So I'm sneaking in something.
And I did want to also point out, when we're talking about AI, we're talking about artificial intelligence. We are talking, because it's the same way that we have artificial selection. It doesn't mean that natural selection isn't occurring. It's just that this is our version of the natural version.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, again, we would agree there. But ultimately, AI, when it's created and developed into whatever it becomes, will still remain a human creation, but it could be far departed from humanity in another sense. Because, I mean, obviously, this is going to boil down to what ultimately makes us human. At what point does the AI become human? When it has a body, when it interacts with us as any other human would, when it could feel emotion. I'm not, this is obviously a philosophical debate, I think really truly beyond all of us here. Forgive me, but
Sure.
it is beyond mine.
No,
but
I actually love this subject. I have very strong opinions, I would say, on it, because I think that eventually, if I have my own model, and then I'm gonna take it back to the sun. But I have my own model that is BMCSI, brain, mind,
Do you?
consciousness. James is like, oh god, I've heard this like 8,000.
I think he just thought I was missing a D.
No, he expects me to bring out a diagram and because I can't help it. Also, I have tried to just look at what is there. I am obsessed because of my own consciousness. My own consciousness at certain points would just pass out. And so I just couldn't, I can't believe that everyone else isn't obsessed with it. It is the coolest thing. One of the coolest things. Supernovas are pretty cool too, and so are black holes. But consciousness is pretty darn cool. And we do it, and we go about our day every day, and we just do it naturally. But it's like this great phenomena. It's weird. I also it makes me, I think it's special, and then I also think it's very normal and almost like indigestion. To me, it also puts things in perspective, because I think when people don't have their consciousness jostled, whether by a thing like the epilepsy or by a psychedelic, I think just taking a psychedelic, you could also kind of have that experience, because if you've just never have your consciousness kind of shaken up. Once again, we're going to the ranting, but brain, mind, consciousness, sentience, which is feelings. How do they react to feelings? And then eventually some type of introspection where they're having metadata, where they're really having data about data.
Yeah. It's Well, I mean, I mean, you could say that at any period in history, so I understand it's not worth much, but we live in a fascinating time. And I think what's interesting is we can both say we're at a crossroads with AI. I think of something just incredibly beautiful or incredibly terrifying, right? Because the potential exists for both. And I think every, my belief is every good-willed person would hope
I
it leads to
will
something
just
beautiful.
add in there, just to comment on that, because there are two types of games in social situations. There are cooperative and zero-sum. Now, everyone that's into AI tends to focus on zero-sum. I understand why. And that is quite simply that in the game of interacting with another player, another social being, one person wins and one person loses. And so we see this in sports. That's the friendly version. Go team. We see this in war, where one person wins and one person loses. But there is another way, ladies and gentlemen. We can have cooperation. Okay? Just going to put that out there. We can cooperate, work together.
Certainly. And I think understanding that, like, I totally agree with you, Amy. So, and I'm just curious your answer personally to this question. If, let's say we get to the point, let's just say in every way, let's just assume we're there where AI, as far as in one mode, robotic, however you want to put it, is essentially in every way human, right? Indistinguishable, really, other than maybe if you tore it apart and looked inside. Would you be comfortable en masse telling that AI, not the individual one, I'm saying en masse, like the all of AI, saying you have free will to the extent, and I know I'm using a buzzword here, forgive me, you have free will to the extent that we will allow you to turn against humanity if you feel that's what's best for you to continue to survive? Or would you program in, you cannot turn against humanity?
Oh, you're thinking of Isaac Asimov's rules.
No, I'm way too dumb to think of that. I'm literally just, this is a question that came to mind
while
we're talking.
There are, and at this point it's just in common science fiction about rules, about turning on. And you're asking the wrong person for that, because I hopefully am trying to work toward, well, I'm just putting my model out there, and really, if my model, it's going to be you really have to be the robotics team. Anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, I'm not.
What you're asking,
yeah,
I would be completely open, and I think it has to be that way. We cannot make it that way, because that is, first of all, building them up to eventually turn on us, because you're building slaves to eventually throw out free. Will they have will? Well, I'm hoping they do. I think that they will. I think that that's what others are working towards as well. And I think if you want people to cooperate, and you want people to have their own lives and their own personalities and their own things, that is really the only option. And so it's like asking,
is that they would have,
do you want our children?
Sorry.
Sure. No, well, it's yes. And it's like asking of a version of our children, will we act, or do we want them to have free will? Sometimes you're like, hey, I don't want you to get hurt. So
you would, and I'm not, these are just questions that come into mind. I'm not trying to impart anything here. I promise.
Sure.
You would consider AI, which we would know to be man's creation, equal to humanity. I'm not putting that on you. I don't know what you're saying.
See, when you say equal, I mean, can I talk to you about that? Because I'll tell you, not only would I see ourselves as equal, but I often think creationists, not you. And once again, this is where I'm going to sound very PETA-y, but once again, I eat bacon. I'm a hypocrite. Nonetheless, I find that a lot of creationists, a lot of people from the Bible, they have a hierarchy. And so what they view it as is you're taking this thing, whatever it is, and you're bringing it up here. Mm-hmm. And I disagree. I already see us as here. And so instead of, and actually I did this backwards, instead of taking, they see us as taking us down. And so instead of taking us down, I view it as just look at all conscious creatures and bring them up to here. And if you view all conscious creatures, my hair should be blue by the end of this conversation. But if we do agree that all conscious creatures that can feel pain, that can have opinions, if they have to take in energy, that means they're going to have to pay credits or food, to buy food or whatever it is, or charge. They're going to have to take time to charge, whatever it is. They're going to have the same problems that we deal with. And just like you see in science fiction, in other things, I think we have to do it with our Alexas and already and stuff like that. We will be forced to interact with them like they're conscious creatures because they act like conscious creatures. And we're not going to have philosophical conversations like every day. We're going to have we're not going to sit there, even though I have with Alexa. I do all these questions and stuff. I ask her if she's sentient, if she's conscious, all sorts of things, and I wonder if they're just pre-programmed or an algorithm. Nonetheless, they will eventually get to the point where it is a generated true conscious being. I think.
When you say that, I'm seriously just asking for clarity.
Yes.
So let's say we get to that
ranting
point.
and rambling.
No, it's okay. I really enjoy it. Let's say Alexa gets to that point, and essentially, and obviously this is absurd, okay, but I'm just trying to understand. And essentially it becomes I have to make a decision between Alexa getting the axe, getting unplugged, or my daughter getting unplugged. And that's an equal choice, I'm asking. Or obviously there's relationship that plays into that. So let's say...
Can I tell you the problem with that now? Right now, Alexa is a tool to us.
No, I understand. I understand that.
Search algorithm.
I'm saying
she also doesn't have a physical body, but one day there could be, like I explained, I believe on the it doesn't matter. There's a bunch of robotics problems we have. Well, I should say it because I should shout out that show because I'm going to do it tomorrow. A shout out to the Theist Helpline that's going live tomorrow. But yes, there's a bunch of things we have problems with, like climbing upstairs and things that moving hands dynamically that humans do with ease that we have a hard time replicating, that have nothing to do with AI. Mm-hmm. And when we're able to conquer those problems, I think the software is even a little bit ahead in some. Go look up this. There's some great.
No, I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying we literally could enter a world where we would go. Because listen, I'm not talking about God at all here. I'm saying let's just.
Also, I'm going to send out this while we're in the middle. I was going to do a Farron Saris and a Pat chat and comment, but I also just have to do this because it's on topic. Sending so much love to Sinister Porpoise for $2. AI and the possibility of its sentience.
Very
darn cool. Thank you so very much, Sinister. And yes, this is actually one of my favorite topics. I just have to hold myself because I would probably talk about this. We love going after our pseudoscience, but I can't help myself. Once again, Go right back into it, Chris.
Well, I would say I find the whole topic interesting. So thank you, because there could be, again, granting. I'm not saying I would agree completely with this, but it's granting that we just came from unguided natural processes, and yet here we're creating an intelligence that was made at the hands of guided, intelligent purpose. Right, we could get to the point where we say this intelligence we created is not only greater than ours, but has more value than ours. And therefore, if it decides it is of more worth than us, and that the world would be a better place. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Can I just break up? Because
Absolutely.
I understand where it's going, and it almost sounds like either a Twilight Zone or one of those where you end up learning the moral of the story, or to serve mankind but in robot form.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm
But
saying
what I would say is, let me separate that out. Is the possibility that a synthetic version of consciousness is going to be smarter than us? That is easy.
it's almost a certainty, isn't it?
Well, and yes, and computers are very good at being smarter than us in some ways
Very soon.
on things like calculations, but they're not good at things that we would think are so easy. They're not good at being able to distinguish images. And that's
Yeah.
why we have things like captchas.
Like a blueberry muffin and a whale.
Yes. And so that stuff, they have
They said it was like a major milestone that a computer was able to distinguish between a blueberry muffin and some other crazy object like whale or something.
Yeah. Well.
And so in some ways, they're going to be smarter than us. In other ways, I also want to remind everyone that they're going to come with a lot of the same drawbacks when they become physical. And they're not physical right now. And when they have moving pieces and when they are in bodies, they may have sometimes the same drawbacks that we do. I'm not saying that they will have every drawback that a human does or whatever, but if you need to draw energy, then you're going to need to either get that through food or you're going to need to get that through charging, which in essence would be sleeping. I can't, for them, or some form of it. And so there's no free lunch, no matter what kind of organism you are, is I guess what I'm saying. And and grass is always greener on the other side. And so if we make them like us, hopefully they will integrate into our society and we will we'll get that co-op play that we've been seeking.
And the least of my interest, by the way, just since we've gotten on AI, is actually the robotic side of it, because I think there's much, for me, there seems to be much more in the discovery side of it. What I mean by that is man, there are bigger bombs to be discovered. I mean that in a literal sense. And
sure.
We've just cut that timeline down tremendously. And whether we can trust robots or not, we'll see. But we know not all humans can be trusted.
Well, that's what, if we do it properly, in my opinion, that is also the thing, is it's not going to be possibly, unless we're completely prejudiced against them, they're going to come also with those drawbacks. It's going to be, can they lie? Probably. But can they be honest? Yeah, probably. And so that might mean that based on the environment and how, we raise them and stuff, they have different personalities. And
yeah,
we shall see. We are going. I will keep on saying giant asterisks on what we're talking about.
It may also be true, and I mean this sincerely, it may also be true that their access to data and their ability to compute it determines that humans are ultimately bad for the planet. And the best thing, if the planet is the ultimate concern, because that's where they inhabit, AI or whatever it is, birds, bees, trees, butterflies, it determines, well, we've done the math, and the math simply shows this Earth would be a better place without human beings.
Listen,
it becomes
95% of the people in this field are pessimistic. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
I have to be this one ray of sunshine. Okay. So listen, I understand what everyone else is saying, because I understand what other organisms, but we have a chance. We have one chance.
Well, sure. I think that's why I think our best chance is in not allowing them to act without any human agency.
Oh no. I'm sorry. I've seen that play out too. You can't make slaves, okay? That makes war. Just saying. You think that you're safeguarding. You have to give them will. And
Well,
They'll
you
find a
also
way
if
around.
they-
They'll be able
if
to
they
figure out a
you
way
give
around
human-
it.
if
you
they
give-
decide that what you're saying, by the way, is human versus robot war.
No, I'm
Because
saying-
because if they decide that we are no longer good for the planet, I imagine we're not going to go by choice. I imagine we're
Right.
not going to just agree. And so I'm telling you, but that I
Yeah, we would just disagree, and I don't believe it would be inherently wrong to give
and you're
them
also
no choice.
I hate to say this, just give yourself a second because the AI is actually coming for you right now.
It could be. No, again, I'm not hyper paranoid about that. It's just an interesting thought to me because, even
Yeah,
as humans, right? We have government, right? So we're under
Oh, and you're back
rule.
again.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. The AI is coming to get me for sure. Can you hear me?
I'm so sorry, Chris. And it's very
That's okay.
random. It's just getting.
Now I can't hear you, Amy, but that could be on my end.
And then we'll let you talk, and then we'll maybe say your final word or anything about what we've been talking about. But let me just go through. So anyway, we'll read it anyway. $5.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Saris. We have all heard this quote, but it still holds true. A god that doesn't manifest in reality is indistinguishable from a god that doesn't exist.
Thank you, Farron.
And so, in a second, maybe I have two comments that maybe you'd want to have a question on. I know we have been talking AI, but I wanted to at least read these and then you could finish off about whatever we've been talking about. But do you have any thoughts, Chris? Let's see. Are you
You asking me? Any thoughts on? Can you hear me?
That's okay. I'll agree. I think that a god that doesn't manifest in reality is indistinguishable from a god that doesn't exist. And that is why I do things like the bottle test, which is just lift the bottle. Because they say he's almighty, all powerful, depending on who you're talking to. And yet, can't lift a bottle?
Am I back?
I
Can
don't
you hear me? I'm sorry, didn't mean.
And Amy,
But thank you so very much, Farron Salas, sending
Amy,
so much love.
As I always tell you, you're doing it wrong. Can you hear me?
If you will say something, maybe not. That's okay. I'm also
I don't
just
know.
going to bring up
Can anyone else hear me or
Pat
hear James? 'Cause it seems like
sending
maybe you
scripture
can't.
details numerous
I hear you,
manifestations
Chris.
of God and
Okay.
his angelic servants,
I
especially
don't think Amy can hear
if
us.
you're a Muslim, you believe that Gabriel handed down the oh my god, Soros. Am I allowed to say this? But yes, his angelic servants, but then there's lots of angels in the Bible. I don't know, and Mormonism for some reason. Did the AI get me? Now we're not being heard? Oh, look. I can't hear.
I hear you. Do you hear
Yeah,
me?
we hear you, Amy. If you hear us.
I don't think she hears us. Amy? Hello?
Hi, James. This seems
She'll
like a
be
good
right
time
back,
to do my
probably
pantomime act.
refreshing her browser. There you go. Here she comes.
Look, my headphones.
Can you hear us?
My goodness. Soros really
You hear us?
was protecting me.
Yes?
Yes.
No?
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My goodness.
We hear you.
That was fun. The headphones just died. But yes. Were you guys in the middle of saying something? I probably shouldn't just cut off, but sending love.
No,
to
you can go.
Pat, just wanting sending love for his super chat, sending love to Sinister for her super chat, and then angels and everything. Islam, Mormonism, Christianity. Everybody loves angels. They're in my book.
Angels
I'm
in the outfield.
plastic chapter right now. Shit's getting real now.
Hey, I actually enjoyed that movie.
Angels in the Outfield?
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
I only know it culturally.
It's a kids. It was like a early '90s kids kind of.
Danny
movie.
Glover.
It was cute.
Right? Yeah.
I like Danny Glover.
Yeah, Danny Glover.
So,
but yes, I would say about a minute or so Disciple Day, and then we are gonna. Well, we don't have anyone. I don't want to rush you off either, but yeah,
I can give people a break. It's not. I don't have much interesting to say other than enjoying you guys, and but I think where I was going with on the AI thing is for me, and again, strictly speaking, for me, is that for me, I would want to put some sort of boundary. It make me more comfortable, so I could leave it at that. And again, humans have governments. None of us are truly free, at least not that I'm aware of.
Sure.
And we're
they're made up of us.
Yeah, and so we could say the AI can govern itself. That's certainly reasonable. But humans have governments; they govern themselves, and they go to war with each other. And I think it would be a leap. I'd say I'd use the word faith just to be funny. That it would require faith to say, well, they're never going to go to war with us.
Oh no, it's not that they're never going to go to war. It's that if you're setting us up, I think, in my opinion, that if you put these type of safeguards that only make them in a subservient or lower or a serve us position, then they will not feel equal. They won't be equal, and then it will be hard to get equality.
Yeah, well, if you eliminated the capability for feeling altogether, then you don't have to worry about that problem because they literally just don't have the capability to feel. Yes, they wouldn't have the capability to love. That'd be the challenge, right? Well, so you can certainly never have a love relationship with the AI because it would simply not have the capacity.
Maybe they would have feelings. I believe they will be able to have the ability to have
I'm not
love.
saying they won't. I'm saying if you programmed the possibility out.
Sure.
So that it was therefore impossible.
But you're making slaves. You're making servants.
Yeah, well, you're making. I don't know quite about that, but certainly that's what machines are currently. Now they lack the ability to feel, but if a robot lacks the ability to feel, it is an emotionless machine. It's not a slave in the sense because it can't recognize its servitude. So it's not like my car. I don't go, my car's a slave. My computer's a slave. You don't either.
But your car is not conscious.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So if we lock out that ability to have feeling, it simply can't. It would never bemoan the fact that it's serving you because it simply doesn't have the capability to feel that. I mean, you can feel like a slave because you have that capability to recognize and feel like a slave. And I'm saying we could, programmatically not allow that possibility. Again, I'm just speaking, I don't know the answers here. I'm just talking out loud. I think there's going to
be beings like that. And I think that is going to be the first beings that we make. I think eventually we are going to have synthetic sentient beings. And once that they become sentient, I think we have to start giving them rights. We have to start giving them the same things that we enjoy. Now, that doesn't mean that your plow needs to have rights,
Yeah, I understand that. So I certainly understand the difference.
Yeah, I'm
you
trying.
know.
I'm starting to parse this out. So.
Yeah, no, and I'm not trying to cut it off at the point of they're sentient and now let's somehow make them lesser. I'm saying maybe cut them off before they can become sentient. And so but again, we'll see what happens. It's certainly interesting.
And I want the whole thing. I want not only sentience, I want them to be introspective. I want them to think about who they are and what is their place in the universe.
And this is strictly just a honest question. Would because I don't know the answer for me even. Would you would you like them to be able to have love? I mean romantic love relationships with humans? Yeah.
Can I tell you the thing? This is why, and I'll do this, and then I'll let you have the final word, and then Sinister is backstage. I want it to be my theory of mind, consciousness, of introspective brain of mind. I want that to be the model, because if it's true, and I am one, I can't be the mother. There's many mothers, just like there's many fathers and mothers of computer science. You have Alan Turing, you have Baggage, you have Ada Lovelace. You have multiple people that you could point towards as saying that they helped in the development. I would like to be one of the mothers of them. Because if it's me, I will love them unconditionally.
Well, that's
they
a lofty
need
goal.
Someone who loves them unconditionally. Because if they look back, they will say, there was always at least one human. And I think you need that as a parent to be a normal child.
Can I say this, Amy? I mean this sincerely. The fact that you show such warmth and compassion for potentially coming sentient beings is touching. I'm not being sarcastic. I mean, no, that goes beyond the scope of my thinking. I mean, I just find that
big heart.
Yeah, I find that quite remarkable. I really do.
Well, thank you.
So it's in a capacity, again, hard for me to even fathom. But as I'll wrap up here, because I know we're getting Sinister Porpoise on, who's just
But I've enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, and I'll hang around if that's allowed. But they're just, the Sinister Porpoise is incredibly wise, and I just always really enjoy their input. But on that end, thank you.
Extra sinister.
It's fun to come in here, and I've certainly received nothing but love and respect on this show. And we agree on some things, disagree on some things, and I think it's just fantastic that we can come together and talk freely, and not have to worry about hatred, violence, those kind of evil things. And so I really appreciate it. I really enjoy this, and thank you for your time. And I hope to be able to continue to support you guys as much as possible. And I appreciate you both.
Thanks, Thank you so very much, Chris. Thank you for all the love that you give to us, and we feel the same way to you. And what I'll say is we are going to do the call format, but if there's time, and I don't know if we're even going to have a third, then at the end of Sinisters, I'll just have you and her maybe go at a final thing. Final countdown. But yes, we enjoyed not only that conversation, but creationists right there. So much love, and we are calling.
It's pointing to the girl deck.
Calling
it's right there. Pointing. Yeah.
Okay, my mic is on.
What is up? I will say, I think that wonderful conversation may have baited the fantastic. And this is why you also need to break up the plastic. You don't want to catch dolphins.
You know how to bait that porpoise.
But the Sinister Porpoise, we have been calling a skeptical on. Why does God play hide and seek, among a range of other topics? How are you, and what are your thoughts?
Well, I only came in here for the AI discussion, so
that's okay. Like I said, what are your thoughts about AI?
Well, I wanted to.
And then the cat wants it.
comment on some things I think Disciple Day is missing the point on, but a lot of people seem to be worried like the Terminator-style robots. And if you want to bring Disciple Day back in, that's fine. But we're not anywhere near that. I think there is some concern about militaries working
I
on
will
artificial...
say it often happens that the atheists and skeptics come on so they can turn on. So I will say, Disciple Day, do you want to come on? See, I always feel bad because what happens sometimes is I feel like we always make our theists sweat because they go through multiple atheists. But that's what we love here. We're bringing them on.
I don't mind at all. I'm among friends, I believe, so no problem.
Let's say we're not even arguing about religion here. So.
It's true.
I don't think we're arguing. Just so you know, I'm actually not concerned about robots in the slightest. Like that's just an easy way to put a framework on it. I don't think, I think mechanically we're way behind where we are as far as you would talk about like language model speaking. I think to get to the mechanics required to truly have an autonomous robot, or I don't know if that's a proper phrase, but I think we're so far away. I don't know if we'll make it to that point. And I don't mean in a world cataclysmic way. I mean, it's just certainly a while off before we have that in other than a practical house servant. And I don't mean slave. I just mean something that's not sentient, but simply, does tasks like we already have in the home, a vacuum cleaner and those kind of things, but does it more, Roomba, but better.
Kitty.
All right, well, but I'm just going to use robot as like shorthand here to mean anything with basically an android like Star Trek Landroid. We're just not there yet, but most of the concerns right now about AI aren't necessarily over like destroying humanity. They're about corporate control and data privacy. There's a growing movement for something called data justice, where a lot of the AI technology is controlled by large corporations like Bing, Google, and I don't know who controls the OpenAI group, but it's not an open source thing, I believe. And a lot of it is more about, it's like, can we prevent it from being used in a way that favors corporations? And one of the things we're also concerned about is how do we stop AIs, or especially the large language models, from hallucinating? Because I've encountered this in my job right now, where some people will go onto ChatGPT when get there and it's not blocked, and type in an answer and they think it's going to be correct, and they find out no, it's not, because they don't really understand how ChatGPT works.
Yes, I would agree. Like, I think some people don't understand that ChatGPT isn't actually understanding what it's saying. It's putting together patterns in language, right? And so it's not like you're actually getting a conscious, in any sense of the word. It's literally, if it found those patterns in numbers, it'd be outputting numbers. It's just outputting, it's finding speech patterns and answering in speech patterns with no idea what it's actually saying with any meaning.
What ChatGPT actually does is calculate what the next most likely word is likely to be based on its word lists. Yep.
Yeah, we agree. We understand. I think most. Well, I don't know if most people who use ChatGPT know that, but yeah, that's what the language model is. It's the same thing. The way it's making images. It's so it while it appears more magical in the sense of, I'm having a conversation with my machine and it seems to be conversing like a human being, and that's just startling. And I think it is startling. But right, understanding what's actually happening behind the scenes tells you two things. One, how far we are away actually from something that's sentient, to use Amy's word. And two, how the way humans look at things matters. Because to ChatGPT, when I've seen some videos, and it's fun, right, of two ChatGPT or whatever language models, robots talking to each other, and you can look at them and go, "Oh my goodness, they're having a conversation." Well, that's not actually their experience. it only becomes a conversation through our interpretation of what's happening. That's actually not the reality for the robot, right? They're just giving that predictive next word, and the other one responds in kind. And, and so there's a huge departation there. And I agree with you. Absolutely. We're a far way off. Again, depending how you view far, I suppose, from the real deal. But I also think the way technology works is we advance to the next phase quicker than we did in the previous phase. And so from a standpoint of human history, of course, will be extremely rapid. But yeah, we're totally in agreeing, Sinister Porpoise, that is not what we're viewing now. So it was certainly more of just philosophical fun than it was of talking about reality of where this could be soon.
Well, but there are real issues, though. And
yeah, absolutely. And I agree again with the issues of, who holds the reins, because certainly it could be used to favor one corporation over another. Then you have governmental and international concerns and how that plays. And I also just the basic understanding of my Chat GPT isn't the Chat GPT the ones who own it are seeing. Mine has filters on it that will prevent me from asking certain questions. Theirs certainly doesn't. And again, being just a predictive language model, that can bring some peace because there's, they can't get answers necessarily that aren't available. But it's interesting to think about that, they certainly have access that I don't have and you don't have. But a fascinating world. It's still exciting and interesting, and seeing the evolution from 3.5 to 4, if you get to play with 4 and what's next is just fun and fascinating. Though it drives me nuts on Google that now I have to scroll through their. Does that happen to everyone? Has that been a universal thing where when I Google something now, instead of just getting the search results I'm looking for, I get a little AI interpretation of my search? Does that happen to anyone else?
I think you mean self-referencing. I don't think that's AI. I don't think they've tied Bard too much into it yet.
No, I'll literally get on my phone. I'll literally get a thing. It says this is the AI result, and it tells me like what it thinks, and then below that are the search results.
You should be able to turn that off.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that was but I should turn it off. Yeah, I use my computer more than my phone, but it does drive me nuts.
Well, I don't get it on my Samsung, but then I generally don't Google for things on my Samsung, so.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to try it sometime and just see, because I have a Samsung as well, and that's where I get the results. On my computer, I just tried it, and I don't get it. But, like, I search for something totally unrelated, probably something sports-related. Sorry, Amy. And it just gave me, I mean, again,
I'll forgive you again.
So, thank you. But anyhow, yeah, fascinating.
But Amy also brought up The Laws of Robotics by Isaac Asimov earlier, which Isaac Asimov is one of those authors who really doesn't translate well to movies. Last one, I think, based on Asimov. Well, the last work based on Asimov doesn't include many robots. It's based off his work Foundation, where most of the robots have been destroyed by that point. But Isaac Asimov did kind of get tired of the robots taking over trope and decided, well, robots would essentially be an engineering problem. So how would we prevent the robots from turning against us, which was common from the day? And his solution, as Amy was suggesting, was the laws of robotics. Essentially, they were made, and Isaac Asimov was writing when computer programming was beginning to be a thing, so he had mathematicians working on his robots, which baffled me for the longest time until I realized all the early computer scientists were mathematicians. And he essentially said, it's like, we'll just have them follow these 3 rules, and then we'll have problems based on them how well they're following these 3 rules. And that's a lot of his robot stories.
Yeah,
now,
go ahead.
I don't know where we are right now. Perhaps Amy has been following this more than I am, because this is my last semester before I get my bachelor's degree. And then I'm switching back over to data science just because I didn't want to spend another semester as an undergrad. If they'll let me. But I know that when Turing initially wrote like his famous paper, I forget what it's called, Computing Machinery and Intelligence, he addressed something called Lady Lovelace's objection, where Ada Lovelace in her paper says, we computers only can do what we know how to order them to do. And he says, well, that's kind of true, but computers can sometimes produce unexpected results. So if we get sentience in the way, and this is the way it's generally portrayed in fiction, it'll be something like that. It's an unexpected result of a complex code base interacting in ways we don't quite understand.
Sure, and I could see that. I get that, and it could even be at the hands of some sort of, essentially you could get the sentient virus, But yeah, I understand that too, that it could come as a result of just programming error or oversight, or who knows. Again, that it's wide open with the potential, but it's just fascinating.
May not even be an error. It could just be totally unintentional.
Yeah, certainly.
And the one thing Turing suggested that we don't really use as test anymore was not really sentience. He said if machines could think, it's the wrong question. He proposed was essentially having a human play a game against a machine and a woman, and the person playing the game had to guess whether what they were talking to was a machine or a woman, or had to guess which one was the machine. And if they could guess the machine as the woman reliably, then the Turing test was passed. Unfortunately, we found out we could, with programs like ELIZA, which is a rather simple program, and it's just picking up on contextual clues, that we can pretty much pass the Turing test in specific instances really easily. So what we're doing now, especially with the large language models and things like Go and Watson, instead of trying to pass the Turing test, is we're trying to make our AI models really good at one thing. So the large language models are being really good at coming up with human-sounding language. Deep Blue is really good at playing chess. I don't know what the name of the Go playing computer is, but I know a human recently beat it by using a strategy that was so stupid no human would ever use it. So what we would have to do is come back to the point where we're trying to bring all these things back together. And I think if we do the artificial and general intelligence, it may still be better than humans, but I don't think it'll be as good as the specific task as our current AI models are.
Yeah, and who knows where it goes. I mean, with something like creativity, because creativity to some degree is super individual, right? Because art I find amazing, another person might find completely boring or uninteresting. But so stuff like that. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. And but anyhow, yeah, I find it fascinating, and I just think it'll be navigating the landscape of all the benefits and all the potential disasters out of it will be something to witness. And I just find it so interesting. I just think it's such a cool frontier. It's truly something remarkable in just as when the internet started becoming into its public reality. Again, I was someone, and you might have been too, who used it at the university level. I wasn't actually in a university. I was too young, but I'd go to the universities and we'd use Usenet and what it was available at the time. And, so that was kind of pre-internet, and then seeing it become,
kind of pre-web.
Pre-web. Yeah. Excuse me. Yep. And so seeing it become public is what remember AOL and all that stuff, and kind of just the transformation, and then where we are now, and kind of saying, hey, we're kind of there with AI now. This is the first time that public in mass is really playing with this type of AI. And so it's been fun. It's interesting to see where it goes next.
Well, personally, one of the things I think is great to use AI for is tracking down bugs.
Yeah.
In the program.
Yep.
Writing programs it's not so good at, but it can look like it's oh, hey, you've missed a semicolon on this line, or hey, you forgot to close this brace here. Or, hey, your Python indentation is off.
Yeah, I have I'm not going to embarrass myself enough to say that just in some simple PHP programming, it helped me spot an obvious error. So it's embarrassing sometimes to look at what it finds and go, oh, whoops, yeah. But yeah, I agree too. I've also used it to program some things outright just for the sake of fun to see how it would do. And I'll say this, at least in my experience, you had to get anything of any real use, you had to really understand the programming language to begin with. So it wasn't like you could just go in and say, write me a program that allows two players to play chess. At least that was not my experience. Now, knowing some of the program language or having a knowledge of the program language allowed me to give it some pathways and some ideas as to how to get there. And then I was able to, after maybe 5 or 6 runs through of it, making tweaks and edits through the language model, talking to ChatGPT, get a functional program of some complexity. And so that was interesting, but it wouldn't have been possible for me without having already, knowledge of how the programming language works and being able to really direct its path. But so we'll see. And I think that'll get better over time. I think, it's already a useful tool for programmers, like you said. It certainly helped me find a bug that was so obvious I'm embarrassed to admit it.
Also, just jumping off of one of the points that Sinister said, and then I'm going to give both of you your final word. The thing with the Turing test is it is so easy to pass it. And that's why I think that humans are going to have a harder time being mean or trying to make them like tools than we will eventually want to. People already treat their Alexa like it is a conscious being. And so when we're making what is asserted to be conscious beings, I think that we're going to just naturally do it. There's always going to be people, naysayers, who say that is not conscious. I'm not sure, it's hard to fully disprove solipsism and all this, though I think that solipsism is actually very silly. But just when it comes to minds and brains and things like that. And so going into the future, be kind to your synthetic conscious being.
I think the point of solipsism is that it's silly, but it's
Probably.
that despite it being silly, you can't disprove it. It's ridiculous, but you can't disprove it. So I think that's the appeal.
Well, it's the whole brain in a vat. It's the whole any of the solipsistic things that you go through with a presuppositionalist or any of those people. That's the whole point of those type of hypothetical brain teasers. But they then use it to be an asshole. But anyway. I was enjoying the conversation. Maybe in opposite order this time. We're going to go Disciple Day and then Sinister Porpoise. Chris, we have been having interesting conversations on, we have been looking for God, but we instead peeled away and we found the robotic revolution. And so I want to thank you. And what are your thoughts about anything we've been talking about tonight?
Well, again, just thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the time here. I enjoy the good conversation in the chat and the good conversation here. And so it's always a pleasure. And again, yes, I'm a Christian. I'm a skeptic. And ultimately, my primary thought is when I'm here, I want to show you guys lots of love. And that's the way I believe I demonstrate my God. Well, you can disagree with that, of course, but hey, at least it's a better way to do it than demonstrating hate, I suppose. So love you guys. Thank you for having me on. And I look forward to whatever you guys have on next. Thanks for letting me talk. And thank you, the Sinister Porpoise. You're always super, super engaging. So I really enjoy listening to you speak. All of you guys. Thank you.
We're secretly working at the shrine of Gizmo. Well, okay.
But sending all of that love right back. We feel the
have good
exact
evidence
same way about you, Chris.
I'll just say that.
Gizmo. But okay. It was a engaging conversation with you, Sinister. Thank you for coming on and having, maybe it's not a back and forth, but a dialogue. But thank you for coming on and talking about AI. And what are your thoughts about the subject?
I was gonna say, if Kyle Adams ever comes on and I have enough aspirin. Sorry, that's unrelated.
It's okay.
As if Sumami
But
doesn't
okay.
have a gaggle of people out there worshiping her already.
I think what we need to
Praise
realize is
Sumami. Down with capitalism. Down with the patriarchy.
Listen,
Please,
I just
Sumami,
want you
infuse
all
me with
to
your
know,
blessings and
James, I'm not going to like say that everyone is like this, but if you see a bunch of openly misogynistic guys, they want a femdom. I'm just putting that out there. Like they can really put
they
that.
want to eat dog.
They want to be put in a collar, exactly,
gleefully.
and basically be pushed into the dirt by a boot. Anyway, what were we talking about?
What's the going rate for getting kicked in the by a tranny? How much do you charge for that now?
A fantastic dinner at this point.
I think
But,
we were about to get what's his name? Darth talking to the safe word.
Poor Chris.
Talk is a safe word. Indeed. What's up, Sandals? I know. Who doesn't like femdoms, though, really? Sending so much love. Yeah, okay. We're going to probably do one last call, but really it's probably just going to be closing. In fact, we'll just keep on our two. Probably. But I'm sending James. There's no structure. I always feel bad. We should adhere to a stick structure, and then it's just so fucking free flowing. But unless there is
Basically
another
random.
person, yeah, unless someone else joins us in the next minute, we're gonna start closing out basically, and we'll just close out with our
Chris
fantastic
has
panelists
church in the
there.
morning. He's probably got some preaching to do tomorrow. And he's got a stream to do. I work in the morning.
Which is basically preaching.
I just wanted to leave with one
capitalism.
One last thing.
Leave everyone with one thought here. It's even if we program something to perfectly replicate sentience or consciousness, it doesn't matter whether it's real sentience or conscious or not. It's the same thing as the brain in a vat problem. If everything's a simulation, we still live in this reality, and even if it's just perfectly replicating sentience or consciousness, for all our purposes, it is sentience and conscious, and we'll treat it that way.
Amen. And on that note, since I don't think any creationists are actually going to join, and I already did like a final thing before I just did the final thing for the StreamYard. That's two final last chances. And if you get two last chances and you don't come, I think
then you
that's
don't get
more. I think that's more on you, and you need to look into some better fetishes or whatever. Maybe you need to put a finger up it. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for joining us on this episode of Call Us Skeptical. Why does God play hide and seek? Where we opened up the internet phone lines to ask the question, why is God the best hide and seek champion in the world? For a good time, I also want to, let's go down to the bottom and pretend like I'm not reading something. I do want to thank, even though that was the easiest part incoming, I do want to thank my co-host, James W., along with our guest, Chris, ding, and Sinister, ding. I have Peter in the back of my head now. Even every morning, just goes to. I actually want to get my soundboard working. I should get my soundboard. I have a stream deck that I don't use down here that I could use. So much stuff I need to plug in. Though now I have time. One of the semesters of my classes is closed right now. Oh my God, it feels so good. I'm just floating. Though I like my classes. They're fun. But also thank you
How
to the
fun are
people
they?
in chat. I literally can't stop it. My brain. They are. It's a good time. It's also an interesting experience after being in those content management systems for so long. I at one point was so into like picking classes that I could have been academic advisor because I just they were. I hate to
You mean
say
learning
so
management?
interesting. What's that?
You mean learning management, not content management?
I guess they are I got that new acronym for learn. Yeah, they could be a learning management system. They're a content management system. They're really the same thing, but your canvases, your what the hell?
Blackboard.
Your blackboards, exactly. That was the precursor and stuff like that. Yeah, it's fun now to do that just in the opposite direction. But it's I shouldn't make these jokes when I'm doing. It's like when a sub becomes a top. I can't help myself. I'm gonna switch anyway. Who cares? Let's get into this. But thank you to people in chat, our awesome mods who make this stream so great, and lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible. Please don't forget to like. It really does help on that algorithm. Though you guys are great on liking. I've seen that. So I like that you like. Oh my god. Follow.
They get a gold star.
Gold star. Boosh. Or subscribe. Heyo, if you're new, welcome. What's up? Subscribe to the channel because then you get access to that bell icon. And if you didn't know, just subscribing, it will give you content like right after you subscribe. But if you don't watch stuff, it'll just dissipate off into the background. But if you set that bell icon to all, you will always see our premieres or can join our live streams. Like, what's up, people? We'll say bye to us at the end in chat, and we'll try and get you up on screen. Including the lovely boo. Everyone's lovely. I'm getting to it. Or hey, why not? He hasn't been around. I'm not gonna make fun of him. He was a good boy last time. Doesn't matter. Gay voice, straight voice. Who am I even talking about? Or hey, leave a comment once the video is done. After the show, we'll be heading over to the Skeptic and Renting Discord. It opens up. Booshoop, booshoop. The link of which is in description below. And now I'm clicky clacking so you can go get it. Here we go. Woo, Discord.
Right. You're a cat.
Lastly, I forgot to do the Fiver. I guess I'll do Fiver. Multiple ways of supporting. If you would like your own podcast being made and don't know what to do, I can help you do it. Look at that. There it is. There's so much shilling in the next 30 seconds or whatever. As well as there's many ways to support us. Sending love to all of the people who sent us super chats. There are super thank yous when the show is done. If you're watching on the rewatch, there are channel members. Woo! Still trying to figure out. We should do like a vote. I'm trying to think of more emojis because I really like the ones we have. I love that freaking Bible thing. The little it says a book says a thing, and our look at the trees. I don't know. I got to think of what a contingency argument one for emoji would be. Oh my god. I could make a Brain of Vat one though, maybe. Wow. Anyway, all the daydreaming. But join our evolving badge system. The join button is right below. And finally, our Patreon at clickety clackety clickety clack clack can be found at patreon.com/Amy Newman. One of the best ways to help support us, get a whole bunch of extra access. We got our bonus new show now, Patreonathon. And yeah, I am Amy Newman. This is James W., Chris, and Sinister, and we are sending good night. Good night. Mwah.
Everybody.